Hello and welcome to the Press Start podcast, the Press Start Australia's weekly video game discussion podcast. I'm your host, Ewan, joined today by my fellow gamers and co-hosts, Kieran.
Hello.
James.
Hello.
And Shannon.
Hello.
Apologies for the lack of show last week. Unfortunately, I had to head overseas rather last minute, and subsequently, we've got a stack to discuss today. On the show, I'm eager to touch on a ton of reviews, including Exoprimal, Viewfinder, and Pikmin 4, as well as Shannon, your preview of the new EA Sports FC, and of course, the result of Xbox's court case with the FTC. But first, Shannon, did you catch the Emmy nominations?
I saw that The Last of Us get a lot and The White Lotus, but that's it.
And why do you think I might bring it up, Shannon?
Just to gloat about The Last of Us for an hour, I'd say.
I seem to recall back when we did our predictions podcast at the start of the year, I said it would get nominated for an Emmy, the show.
Did I bet against you? Why? I feel like I didn't.
This is just me gloating.
Okay.
Not only did it get nominated for one, it got nominated for 24. So I don't know if anyone else is keeping tabs on their predictions, but I reckon that's worth 24 points.
How does James feel about that? Deserved?
I mean, regardless of like the quality of the story, like you can't pretend it's not well made, you know. So we'll leave it at that, I feel.
I think this is as much of a compliment as we're going to get out of James.
Yeah, I mean, good for them.
Yeah. Kieran, if they were to win any of these Emmys, they are up against some really tough competition. Succession Season 4 being one, The Bear being another, Ted Lasso being another. Tons of competition. If it is to win an Emmy, what do you think it'll likely be for?
I honestly think that, like...
Tough question.
It is a tough question because there's obviously so many, and there's so many of them that seem like shoo-ins as well. But I reckon like a sure bet would definitely be the outstanding guest actor or whatever it was. I can't remember the exact category name, but Murray Bartlett and Nick Offerman are both up for that. And, you know, either one of those could take that easily.
Yeah. I was chatting about it with my mate Michael as well, who shout out. And I think like the writing for that episode in particular, I think is a good call. Episode 3 being the Bill and Frank story. Obviously, that was a standout episode in the series, so I suspect it would be for that as well. Anyhow, let's get on with the rest of the show. And James, I'm coming back your way because I'm eager to hear about Exoprimal, a game I feel like we've been morbidly curious with for a little while. It is now out. What were your final thoughts on the game, having been able to review it?
Yeah, I liked it. I didn't expect to like it. I know that we didn't make fun of it every time we saw it, but it was like kind of like, I don't know. There just wasn't like a lot of I mean, the concept is good, but like I don't know, there wasn't a lot of reason to be excited, and I always kind of felt like Capcom have had a lot of wins lately, so they're kind of due for a bit of a not win. And like it's good. Like I think being on Game Pass helps a lot for this game, and I think it was a really smart decision. It also surprises me though that it's not on the equivalent for PlayStation Plus. Because like it is $80 retail, I think, which for a multiplayer only game that's in a new IP from a developer who isn't historically known for their multiplayer, there's like a lot of like there. But I actually really like it. Like I think it's a really solid shooter. Like it's fun to play. It's not it doesn't feel shit. Like I don't know, it's hard to explain. The only thing that I don't like about it is so it has a full story, right? With like cutscenes and characters and like there's a lot to it. It's got a lot more to it than you would think. And after you play like a certain amount of matches, you'll see some more story, and you'll kind of get thrown from a regular multiplayer match into like a story mission. And that has like proper set pieces with like boss battles and stuff. Like it feels like a single player game. And then once you've beat that, because what will happen is like those missions usually will end up with your 2 teams of 5 might come together and it'll be a 10-player co-op mission instead. Like it's always kind of shifting like the mode that you're playing and stuff. Which like it's a really cool way to do this. Like I can't think of
Yeah,
another
that
multiplayer
sounds
game.
really unique. I don't know if I've ever heard of a game doing anything like that. I mean, it's something that Titanfall kind of sprung to mind in the way there wasn't a story with that game, and
Yeah,
similar to Apex, I guess, but it does kind of have a bit of a narrative that evolves kind of through the surrounding material, but nothing quite like the
yeah.
structure of that. That's really neat.
And it's really unique. And I did say that in my review, like I feel like it's actually it done because when you boil it down, it's a hero shooter. You
Mm.
have like 10 heroes with like
Overwatch, I guess, is another
some yeah. It's
similar.
very
Yeah,
it borrows a lot from Overwatch.
yeah,
But I don't know. I found it enjoyable. All the classes feel quite balanced. And they had 3 betas, so you kind of hope they would. And they definitely are
mm.
listening to what everyone's saying. But what I was trying to get at before was like, so obviously you do a story mission, and then after that, the game will automatically throw you into, I guess, a different pool of matchmaking where you'll see more maps, more dinosaurs, the hordes get thicker. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
so what I'm seeing a lot of around the place is everybody's played, say, 10 or so matches, and then they're like, oh, there's just like one mode, one objective, and that's it. But it actually just keeps progressively getting bigger the more you play it.
Right.
So I think the problem is not so much that it does that. I don't think it's very like clear that it's doing that. And I think if you
Mm.
told people like play this many more matches and you'll unlock
Yeah.
this, like I
You
think
see
if
like
you
a
were
progress bar or something to like the
and you
next chapter or
to
yeah.
be fair, you do see a progress bar that says matches to next cutscene or matches to next story bit or whatever.
Okay.
But that doesn't actually tell you that you're going to get more game modes, maps, or anything like that.
Yeah, got you,
Because
got
this
you.
game has 6 maps and 10 objective types that you can do right now.
Mm.
And they're adding a lot of more shit throughout the year. But I really do encourage everybody to try it, especially if you can play it on PC or Xbox. Like I think it is the perfect game for that.
Yeah.
Because like there really is no risk to jump in.
Yeah.
And like
This
every
actually sounds like
class,
prime material for like me and my group of gamer buddies. Like we love kind of
or your
cooperative sort
other
of
friend.
things like this. Yeah, my other friends. I was avoiding saying that.
Mm.
Like they're all playing World War Z, I think, at the moment because it got added to
Yeah, see, that's like
PlayStation Plus Extra, and I'm like, really must like, does it have to be this? So I'm kind of sticking with Final Fantasy 16 for the time being. But yeah,
but
now
like
you're
it's
thinking
yeah,
like,
it's
Is
genuinely
it worth
fun. Like
$90? Like, would you recommend someone pay $90 to play it? Because that I forgot, like it wasn't free to play. I'm not saying it should be free to play,
that's
but I just forgot.
yeah. So I don't know. Like I can't. I mean,
yeah,
to me, like it's got lots of modes. It's got like a fully voice / cutscene story. Do you know what I mean? Like it
sure.
has
Meat on the
everything
bone.
there.
I
Yeah,
suppose, like,
there's
to
a
phrase
lot
that
of meat.
question slightly differently, based on what you've played, like, would
Yeah.
you be willing to pay $90 for it now, or like, are you pretty content? Kind of,
Yeah, I
do
mean,
you think
if
it was
I
more
had,
enjoyable given that it
yeah,
was
okay,
on
yeah,
Game Pass?
if I had known it's this like fun and there's so much to it, yes, I
Yeah.
think 90
Okay.
is
Cool.
fine. Like
Yeah.
I think I paid 100 for Overwatch when it came out, or 69 or $70. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
the retail price. And this game is like that almost, I would say. But
Yeah.
it's not even just guns. You know what I mean? Like you've got like there's a character who's very like DMC. Like you can shoulder charge dinosaurs and then they slam into other dinosaurs and cause damage. So you can
I'm in.
there's yeah, literally there's a samurai who like he like that goes into this stance, absorbs damage, and then can like reflect it all back at people. Like it's all kinds of. There's a Junkrat ripoff. There's a soldier.
Are they Australian as well?
No, but there is an Australian character. His name's Magnum, and every time he takes his suit off, he slams a dart, and he's the most Australian character.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, I feel like this is racist, but I'm not sure. But yeah, it's good. It's genuinely good. Like I know, I see so many people who are like, you gave it a good score, but everyone else, all the user reviews say it's shit. It's like, yeah, but I've like, if you play it, you'll see what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think there's
It's
even
all subjective.
is there a demo? I don't know. I feel like I'm making that up maybe, but I really encourage people to try it. Like I don't write it off.
Yeah.
There's like at least 15 to 20 different types of dinosaurs, and it's just so fun to like kind of team up and beat them all. Like whether you want to hit them or you slash them or you shoot them. Like there's just so many different ways. And it gets super chaotic. It runs well. Like RE engine, even though obviously this doesn't look like it, like RE4 or something, but like
Sure.
that engine does good work. Yeah, absolutely try it. Like, it's so fun. And those 10-player co-op missions are so fucking good. Like, they are some of the most fun I've had in an online game for a long time. Yeah. I just wish they were more they tweeted the other day about, like, just remember everyone, like, if you keep playing, more shit unlocks. And I feel like the fact they've had to do that, they probably know they've fucked up, and maybe they
Yeah.
will patch in, like, some kind of progress meter. But yeah, I recommend it for sure.
Another question for you. Like, given that there's this kind of progression to it, if you don't play this game for a year and the kind of community, like the early kind of community's fallen off and it's just the hardcore players that have progressed well past the opening hours of the game, like, how do you think it's going to adjust for someone starting afresh when everyone else has progressed past that point?
Yeah. That's a good point. I don't know. I think so obviously, just to clarify, like, the way the matches work is, like, you'll have, say, 4 PvE objectives in separate
Yeah.
maps, and at the end you'll go into a PvP objective where you're together.
Right.
So
Okay.
the PvE stuff, obviously that will be scaled back to your level, because that's what I just said before. Like, the thickness
Yeah.
of the hordes and stuff is really based on how much you've played already.
Yeah.
Which, like, makes sense on paper, but obviously in real life, like, you're still going to get stuck. If you're coming into this game late and you're playing with everyone else, it's going to scale you all back to the lowest person in the party's, like, kind of world. But then,
Yeah.
like, you'll still have those people with really good skills.
Yeah. That's a pretty
To it,
regular
I
challenge
guess,
for these kind of
yeah,
games, I guess.
is that a thing? Like, I don't obviously play a lot of multiplayer games, but, like, I've always felt like if I were to jump back into Overwatch, like, I can still play it fine. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you totally can. Like, but it's a bit of a different beast. I guess I was like imagining, like, in terms of the progression of the story and stuff, like, were there kind of set game modes that you needed to play to advance the next stage of the story? And would there people be in a different playlist of multiplayer
No, so
matches that weren't going to help you progress?
So this is, like, another, I guess, like, misunderstanding about the game. Is you boot it up and it's literally one mode called Dino Survival, but inside
Yeah.
that mode is the 10 different objective types that it throws at you. So everyone's actually matchmaking on the same playing field per se.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's ever going to be a problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like so unique in the way that it approaches things. Like, they've solved a lot of problems, but obviously in that process they have created a lot.
Yeah.
Which I do
No, I'm
mention
really intrigued. It
in my
sounds
review.
like quite
It's not like
an
anything you've
interesting
played
setup.
before, like,
Yeah.
honestly, and I really appreciate that they have tried something new with it, and it's a new IP and all that kind of thing. And they've obviously had some shit in the past that was literally shit, but, like, I feel like
Yeah.
this has so much potential, and they're obviously adding Street Fighter characters to it halfway through, and then adding Monster Hunter monsters probably early next year as well. And I think that all fits
Yeah.
really well too. And now I can
Yeah.
see this having a Resi crossover event with hordes of zombies and, the Resi characters. Like,
It kind of just sounds like a fun space for Capcom to just get a little weird and have some fun with
Yeah.
it. Sounds neat.
It's great.
Well,
Like,
James, so next time you're online playing some, let me know. Maybe I'll jump on with you. I'm not convinced you're going to do that based on the expression on your face just then. Hit me up. See what happens. Maybe I'll surprise you.
Absolutely.
In the same way that
do you even have
Exoprimal surprised you?
Oh, you have PC,
I've got PC.
Yeah,
like,
okay.
we could crossplay it. Yeah.
We could.
I've got Xbox Game Pass open on my screen right now, ready to install it. So I'm serious.
I love that.
Kieran, coming to you next. You didn't do the review for Viewfinder. Brody did, but if I'm not mistaken, you have been able to play some. I'm curious to hear more about it. Can I pick your brains on Viewfinder?
You absolutely can pick my brains on Viewfinder. I have played and finished it.
Excellent. For those not familiar with the game, because I feel like it's a bit of a tricky one maybe to get your head around, how would you describe Viewfinder and how it works?
It's a first-person puzzle game. So if you think like Portal, Superliminal, Talos Principle, those kind of games, very much in that vein. But the main hook is the idea of playing with perspective. And that's all done through the idea of photos or pictures. So essentially, in the game, you can pick up photos, which are usually, photos of an environment or an object, and you can sort of put them into frame in your view, and then they'll spawn in the real world. So if you've got a picture of, a battery that you need to power a generator, and you plonk it in the world, you can pick up the battery. Or if it's of a walkway, and you put it in the world, then you can walk down that walkway. So that's like the basic the very, very basic sort of concept at least.
Mm.
But then obviously it does expand on that
Yeah.
quite a bit.
There's some really cool clips of it I've seen on like TikTok and stuff of like manipulating a photograph of like a floating land to like turn it into a bridge to that land and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, really neat. Compared to other puzzle games, then you mentioned some big ones there, like Portal, I suppose. How does it stack up alongside those?
I feel like Portal's probably the best comparison in terms of how how approachable it is. It doesn't really overload you too much with like super cerebral puzzles. It kind of like gives you enough time to learn a concept that it's thrown at you, and then once you kind of have a grasp on that, the next one comes along. So it keeps things fresh. It's only like 4 hours long, but like it feels like it just constantly changes up what's going on and what you're trying to think about. So in terms of that sort of design, I think Portal's a pretty good comparison. And it does also have like an overarching story that like I won't spoil, but there's audio logs you can pick up, and there's stuff that happens outside of the puzzles as well. So there's all that kind of cool stuff too.
Yeah. Sweet. I was going to quiz you on that because that was like one of the things that I've really enjoyed about, and Portal obviously did it so well, but I really enjoyed, I suppose like Gone Home and Firewatch, I suppose, were much more heavy-handed in their storytelling than I suspect this is. But even like the Stanley Parable and the kind of story that is told through that, I guess that's very Portal in nature too. But I feel like that's needed for me to kind of enjoy a puzzle game and really kind of feel motivated to kind of step through the next puzzle and spend the time cracking it to kind of see what that next plot point's going to be. Again, you didn't sort of review it, but is this kind of making your shortlist, I suppose, of games of the year? Would you rank it that high?
Yeah, definitely. In terms of indie games and in terms of, I guess, the genre, definitely. It's like easily one of my favorite games in this style that I've played for a long time.
Very cool. Have you, James or Shannon, have you given it a go yet, Viewfinder?
No, definitely keen on it. Looks good. I didn't realize it was out so soon. It kind of just popped up out of nowhere, to be honest. But yeah, I'm keen to give it a go.
I can appreciate
Kieran and Brody's. Sorry, what was that, James?
I can appreciate a good puzzle game that messes with perspective and shit. So
yeah,
this sounds like my vibe.
Yeah.
When I finish, if I ever, at the moment, my priority is Jedi Survivor. Like I've not played it yet, and I can't hate it until I've finished it. So I got to play that first. But,
you're playing it just so you can officially hate it.
I want to be informed, in my opinion. But yeah, this looks good.
Well, Kieran and Brody's excitement for the game isn't the only I've heard. I've heard plenty of people talking positively about it. So keen to give it a go myself. And pleased to hear that it's not a huge investment of time as well, because God knows I don't have a lot of it. In saying that, just to touch on something I've been playing recently, I picked up BattleBit. I'm forgetting what it's called now.
Remastered.
BattleBit. Even though it's like remastered, but that doesn't really make much.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah,
like
BattleBit Remastered. Yeah. Which is just like imagine a Battlefield in Roblox. Like it's just as kind of faithful of recreation of a classic Battlefield game you can imagine, albeit with an art style far more similar of like a Minecraft or a Roblox kind of blocky sort of thing. Very kind of low poly, low res sort of thing. But systems wise, it is as every bit a Battlefield game as you'd want it to be, and subsequently it's developed quite a following and been very successful like in the last couple of weeks or so. But yeah, I just wanted to shout that one out because I'm having a little bit of fun with it. Shannon, I hope you've been having a bit of fun with EA Sports FC 24 though. You've got the opportunity to preview the game. I know you're a big FIFA fan, but this is obviously EA's kind of first foray into a well-trod sort of genre, but without the FIFA branding attached to it anymore. How different is it, if at all, from the FIFA games we know and love?
It's definitely it's FIFA. Like if I put the controller in front of you in a match, you would ask me like, is this FIFA or is it the new EA FC? No matter how many times I write it or read it, like I just say FIFA all the time, by the way. So I apologize in advance for just continuing to say FIFA. It'll always be FIFA.
I don't know if you can. I think they'll come after you if you do
literally.
that.
Yeah, it's a shame that I haven't looked too much today, but I don't think they've released like screenshots or footage of the game, which is a shame because like the presentation and how it looks from a menu point of view is totally different. Like that's the biggest change immediately. Like they've completely redone everything, and like I feel like FIFA has been pretty consistent with its menu and UI for 5 or 10 years, but it's been totally redone. It's a lot cleaner.
I feel like they've been consistently awful.
Yeah,
with their
it's been
menus
really
and UI.
clunky
Like it's always
as they've added more and more modes and things. Like it's been really hard to find what you want to just get into a game, which is probably designed that way. For some.
And FIFA for me is like always just been like, let me play a tournament. Like I just want to play straight through like an EPL season, or B, I just want to get straight into an exhibition match with a mate. Like it's just a one-off game. And there's always like so many steps you got to jump through to get there.
Yeah,
so
it's really clean and like it's really clever and like showing you highlights and stuff from your game as you play. Like it doesn't feel wasted. So that's one of the main things just from an aesthetics point of view. And it felt like the right time to do that. I don't know if it was like FIFA restricting them and what they had to show or put up front, but it does feel like the shackles are off in that regard. And then, there was a lot of cool stuff with sort of precision passing, which I'm like a moderate to advanced FIFA player. I'm not like doing a bunch of tricks, but I'm like fairly decent at it.
You talk big game whenever it comes to someone coming
I've played
up
a lot of
against
FIFA.
you.
I would say it's my most played game of all time, which I know James is just loving looking at me at the moment. But it feels like you can take your game to the next level easily in this one with some of the precision passing stuff without it feeling like you have to spend 500 hours playing. And yeah, there's a few other things like it sounds so dumb, but like they're using like AI to dictate how the ball moves, so that feels a lot more natural and not scripted.
Okay. It's very incremental, the development of football games, James.
It is, because you don't realize like the slightest change can completely, like you've seen AFL 23 or 24 or whatever it's called. Like sport games are hard to get right, and like it's that balance between changing stuff. It feels like they've added stuff without breaking it, but again, like there's just been that many comments on our post today about people hating on last year's, which I found fine. So I don't know. It's exciting. It's cool. I don't think this year was ever going to be the game changer, but it's now going to be cool to see now they don't have the FIFA license, which we all know is super restrictive. And they just control a lot of the sporting world. Like I'm keen to see how they can like introduce new modes and things like that maybe don't fit in with the FIFA brand. But it feels like there's new stuff. It feels like a decent step forward.
Yeah. And in terms of like Ultimate Team, if they made sort of any changes around there, I know that's I'm not a mode I play a lot of,
but apparently you can now like skill up your players. So if you get a card for a player that's not ranked well, instead of just like trying to get the next best player, you can actually skill them up through seasons and take them with you. Which that's some of the stuff I was talking about in terms of like dropping the FIFA license. Now they can be a little bit more gamey with it, which is cool to see. Again, I'm sure there's a reason for that in terms of money making, and it won't all be as it sounds, and I didn't get to experience it. But yeah, I like to see them doing some cool stuff like that for the FIFA players out there. There's tens of millions of them. Just
it's like I feel it's easy to kind of poke fun at FIFA and FIFA players, but it's kind of as significant a game, I suppose, as like a Call of Duty or something, really. So
it's huge.
Yeah, there's lots of people that just play FIFA, or I guess now EA Sports FC, which we will all have to get used to saying.
Yeah, I don't love the name. Like it just doesn't roll off the tongue like FIFA does. I'm sure it's not going to impact them at all because what else are people going to buy come September or whenever it comes out? But yeah.
I feel like the inclusion of sports in the title is just a bit of a weird one. Like we spoke about this when they announced the title, but why not just EAFC? Like that just kind of
I don't know either.
Does that abbreviate weirdly?
Isn't there a UFC coming out this year too? Like that, like EA UFC 5. Like, and so it's going to be EA
You're
Sports
the UFC
FC.
expert, apparently.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
I feel like that was announced, or did I dream that? And if I dreamt that, something's wrong. No, I swear they've announced one. Yeah, I have.
They could get a bit crazy with all of the.
I'm not crazy,
I suppose. Yeah.
Anyway,
lots
of FCs.
Yeah, it's exciting. I'm keen for it.
Yeah. Well, over on their website, you can check out Shannon's full written preview of EA Sports FC 24. I think I got that right. As well as Brody's review of Pathfinder and James's review of Exoprimal. But, James, we do have one more review I wanted to touch on, and that was Pikmin 4. The last time we got together, you touched on your preview of the game, but it is now out there in the big, bad world. What is there to love about Pikmin 4 in your mind?
Everything, honestly. Yeah, it's good. It surprised me. Like I feel like I finished it a long time ago now, but like I really liked it. It's I think Pikmin, like every game is different. Like I said in my kind of preview when we talked about it 2 weeks ago. But yeah, like I was like kind of taken aback at how big it is. Like I feel like every Pikmin game is about 20 hours if you 100% it. But this one's 30 something hours. But like it's a good 30 something hours. Like I never felt bored or unengaged or yeah. Like I think if like obviously all of the games. Has anybody here played them? Like that I can bounce off of in any way.
They've never really spoken to me. If I'm
the only
honest.
one I haven't played is 3.
Let's bounce,
But
baby.
sell me on. I'm prepared for you to sell me on 4.
Yeah, like what's your favorite Pikmin game, Kieran? Do you have one?
I think just the first. I think it's just the first one, just for simplicity's sake.
Okay, yeah. I feel like there's this kind of a lot of people want them to go back to that, like the first game, which because it is, but you just can't make a game that's that challenging and unforgiving anymore. I feel, because you had to finish it in like 30 days, or like you had to start again, and it was just like back then, I don't know, like that was just what games were like. They were challenging and you just had to deal with it. But obviously with Pikmin 4, as time goes by, there's literally almost 10 years between each one. They've just changed the focus and each game has a different focus. And so as a result, everyone has a different favorite. Older people tend to like the first one, me and Kieran, I guess. And then other people I speak to really like 3 because that was on the Wii U, blah, blah, blah. But Pikmin 4 to me...
So
go.
Yeah, you're saying that it didn't capture the same sort of magic then of 1 in your mind?
No, so
the same appeal to you?
I said I feel like while Pikmin 4 isn't as difficult or challenging as Pikmin 1 was, it does a really good job of like plucking the best bits from each game and putting it all into one game. And I think that is... Okay. I think this has the potential to be like the most popular Pikmin game, like with a lot of people. And I think it's going to open up the franchise to a lot of new people as well, because it is so approachable.
Did the handholdy, just on that note, did the handholdy stuff kind of subdue? I know we're only allowed to speak about the demo.
Yeah. So the demo stuff, I think left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. And I also was playing the final game at that point, and I agreed too. Like the tutorializing is really fucking bad. Like it's constantly like throwing up something to tell you what you can do. Like, hey, did you know you can press A to jump? And it's like, yeah, like I do. And then like you tap through that, and then there's this giant over.
Was that throughout the whole game?
No,
or like
it's at the beginning. Really but then it's like at the beginning, it's like a giant overlay after that saying, "Hey, jump!" Like next, like, and it's like cool. Like I get it, and I don't know if they're trying to open this up to kids because obviously, like visually, you look at Pikmin and I don't know, like you feel like it could definitely do well with a younger audience. But because it really is like an RTS, that's a genre that typically I would argue isn't as easy to grasp for kids as well. But like I do think it does a really good job of introducing you to everything. And then I don't think I'm allowed to talk about this, or am I allowed to because it's out now? I don't know. But there's towards the end, it gets...
Unless it's a spoiler, I think you can talk about it.
This is bringing back memories, Ewan.
Yeah, like, shut up.
If Brody was here, going, cut that.
No, the game is split into like 2 distinct halves, and you can really leave the game after the first half and be content, I reckon. But if you go through and do the second half, like it's quite difficult and challenging, and that to me is where I really felt like I was almost playing an old Pikmin game. Like it was a little bit more like harrowing, and like I lost almost... I got like, by the end of it, I think I created over 1,000 Pikmin, but over half of those were dead. Like it got really tough, and it's so horrible when you lose them. The little ghost like floats up. But overall, it's really good. Ochi, the dog, is like the fucking cutest dog I've ever seen in anything ever. Like, I just love him so
Wow.
much. I
It's a
think he's a
big
great
call.
companion. You can use him as much as you want or as little as you want, but like he definitely can make the game a bit easy for you too. Because
Yeah.
I love it. I did think it was a really good game. It's probably I think
I'm
it's
going
my
to float
favorite.
this idea in. Oh, you think it's
I
your
think it's
favorite?
my
Okay,
favorite.
cool. Awesome.
Yeah,
Wow. I wasn't expecting that, I must
because
admit.
in Pikmin 2, like as an example, that game had caves that you could go into, so it wasn't just the surface of the planet you were exploring. But in Pikmin 2, they were procedurally generated. In this game, there's 20 over 20 of them, but they're actually they're made with like a theme, a boss, and puzzles that match the theme. Do you know what I mean? Because I don't know if you know, like,
cool.
you probably don't, Ewan, but like it's a lot of that. You're like tiny people, so like you get to go around like
The Pikmin
the
are.
Pikmin and the people that you play as are. They're all small.
Oh, okay.
So you're running around like bushland, but it's like grounded almost in that you've got all these normal things, but they're massive.
I don't know if I ever realized. I
yeah.
probably did.
I-
I probably just haven't had it spelled out that clearly to me.
Right. Well, there's like a whole level that's literally a lounge room. And like there's a couch and like you have to jump over dishes and shit and there's water like just massive drops of water coming from the
Yeah.
tap. Like it's a cool
I thought that they were like in a
giant world.
like miniature things in a normal sized world. I hadn't quite appreciated that it's actually the people are little too.
Yeah, they are. Like I mean we haven't seen a human in Pikmin world, but
That would be cool.
Are they the same size? Are the humans the same size as the Pikmin,
No,
or
I
are they
just-
kind of like
no,
slightly
the people
bigger?
you play as, they're not humans. They're aliens from other planets that look like humans. So
Yes.
You're
So
overcomplicating
we've never
this
seen
much more than it needs. I feel
No,
at this
I
point.
think
I really appreciate James trying to
but the
explain
cool,
this to
but
me,
like
though.
so with Pikmin 2, that had like a lot of promo. Like they've changed it for the re-release, but you would pick up Duracell batteries and stuff, and it kind of implied that it was Earth after like the world had ended, like your post-apocalyptic Earth. So all this like machinery that's been like abandoned, but the Pikmin and the people are like recollecting them or something. There's like quite it's deceptively deep lore. But like I think it's why am I even talking
I
about
don't
this
know.
now? I can't
I
even
want to
remember.
ask a nice question. If you haven't played Pikmin before, I'm assuming you can play this and really sort of enjoy it and not worry.
Absolutely. And if you are like if you find games challenging regularly, like it explains a lot of things to you. So and you can skip them. I have obviously discovered since you can skip that stuff if that's putting you off. Because once it lets you go free and like go and just explore these big worlds and work out the best way to do things with your Pikmin that you have, it's really fun. Like it's really solid. I think they did a really good job.
Shines.
Definitely worth the wait. Like I feel like with the 10-year wait between 2 and 3 came out, you could finish it in like 6 hours. Whereas with this, like there's a lot more meat, of running theme of all my games. Lots of meat on the bone this time as well, Shannon. But yeah,
Unless you're a miniature human, in which case there might not be a lot of meat.
I mean,
on the bones.
relatively for the smaller monsters, there might be. But yeah, like it is genuinely good. Like I love it. I thought it was a really good job. They did a great job. And Ochi is life.
Cool.
And I want a plushie of him.
I want to float on that point. I want to float the idea that later this year we do a ranking or like a vote of the best video game dogs of the year, because I feel like there's been a couple of strong contenders. Or maybe like best video game companions, because I want to throw BD1 into the mix as well. But Torgal, I think, James, show our boy Torgal some respect. What are you doing?
What do you mean?
You're talking mad game about Hochi.
His name's Ochi.
I feel like
he's 100%. First of all, he's more useful than Torgal.
Whoa!
He is. Like, honestly.
You're
having played
throwing massive shade at Torgal.
I've played both games, and I did most of the damage in Final Fantasy's battles, not Torgal. Like, Torgal wasn't there fucking nibbling at Bahamut's feet.
Anyhow, we'll save this debate for later in the year when we now do this segment. We've got to get to one of the big meaty topics of the day. Speaking of meat on the bones,
So much
there's
meat.
always plenty on this topic of conversation. We've long been talking about the court case being heard in the US with the FTC challenging Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard. Xbox have now won this bid, paving the way for the acquisition to move forward, pending other competitive reviews elsewhere in the world. Kieran, first to you. What is the significance of this announcement, of this resolution? And what, if anything, I suppose at this point might stop the acquisition moving forward?
I feel like more than like having a functional impact, this latest sort of set of developments is just everyone's just kind of like assuming that it's going to go through now. Even like Sony seemingly is assuming because they're signing agreements to keep Call of Duty. Like it feels like it's just blown open and everyone's expecting it to go through. Whether it does or not, like there could be something in the future that stops it, but it feels all but done. And as well, them sort of going along with the CMA in the UK, and the CMA actually actively helping them to appeal their own decision, from what it seems like. I feel like it's a done deal now, and it's just going to be a waiting game.
Yeah, I think so as well. And like we were talking recently about how other jurisdictions, like other kind of regulatory bodies around the world might kind of be influenced by what happens in other parts of the world. And I think a lot of people will look to the US and how they've decided on this, or how they've ruled on this acquisition. We raised the point last episode asking what was being discussed here in Australia with regards to the approval of this acquisition. And I did want to shout out Slayer774 Gaming over on YouTube, who chucked in the comment saying, to answer Shannon's question, the ACCC's decision seems to be waiting to see what the FTC and CMA decide. Timeline has been suspended since February 2nd, 2023. So nice little bit of interesting insight in there that I hadn't known. I think, big shout out for Slayer774 for gaming. I think, like, to your point, Kieran, this now probably does pave the way going forward, and the CMA over in the UK, I imagine, will kind of look to this and rule pretty similarly. If they don't, I have no idea what that means. I don't know enough about business law and everything to tell you what the hell that then means. But
what then?
Then it's over. The ACCC has
Can
so
you
much
imagine
power.
if, like,
Literally,
there's some weird Australian subsidiary of Activision Blizzard still operating independently? Yeah.
Anybody who's worked in customer service will know how powerful the ACCC
Yeah,
exactly.
is.
How lackluster the ACCC is.
Yeah.
Oh God, I've got a bone to pick with ACCC, but I'll save that for another day.
Don't.
Shannon, coming back to the Call of Duty aspect over this, the judge presiding over the case stated that the acquisition deserves scrutiny, and that the scrutiny has resulted in Call of Duty staying on PlayStation. They kind of made a point of this in delivering their findings. Obviously, this was a big feature of the debate, but Xbox have now signed a binding agreement to keep COD on PlayStation. We kind of don't know, I guess, the full details of this, but what caveats might there be in this arrangement? And do you think this is a sufficient enough victory for PlayStation out of all of this?
I saw somewhere that initially, I think Activision were offering, Microsoft were offering all of the Activision properties to PlayStation in like the initial agreement. So I feel like they've taken that back and now just offered Call of Duty. Is it I think it's such a hard one, right? Like, I think we've spoken about this many times before, that we like, from a business point of view, many a times before. Like, we don't understand how Microsoft profits from a deal like this, but I guess none of us are business experts. But I think I wouldn't say it's a victory for PlayStation, but I feel like they're not losing anything from this, at least in the next however many years. But I can't see a world, and I don't think we've all said this, that like Microsoft's never going to take COD off PlayStation. Like, I think that it might be on Game Pass, there might be exclusives, or I don't know, the campaign might be exclusive, or certain things like that potentially. But I can't see a world where like the core COD and Warzone aren't on PlayStation, and there's nothing really that ever led us or will lead us to think that could change.
Yeah, I think we were discussing recently just the value that Call of Duty represents to PlayStation in terms of like the PlayStation Plus subscriptions that it drives, the amount of in-game purchases and the cuts they take from all of that. I think they'll be pretty happy to keep COD on there. I think that it was assumed to be, or at least reported to be, a 10-year deal, much in the same that they've signed with other platforms already.
I saw that they might, like, I don't know, we never have discussed this, but like, do you think Microsoft were paying people for these partnerships? Like, I saw that maybe, because it did just seem to change and turn really quickly. I know PlayStation didn't have many options in their core, but then it did get me thinking, like, would Xbox or Microsoft have gone to Nintendo and paid them an amount of money for them to agree to this and other companies that they worked with?
To try and win favor?
I don't know. Like, I don't know. What if Nintendo said no, we're not interested in COD on Nintendo? Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
what?
I think Nintendo and PlayStation have everything to gain by signing that deal. Like, I think it is Xbox currying favor and trying to get the acquisition through. Like, much attention.
Yeah, but I guess
to Call of Duty is a matter of this deal. But
why?
I can't imagine Xbox would pay PlayStation to sign the deal. Like, if anything, PlayStation would be paying.
But
Xbox
I don't think there was ever going to be a situation where COD wasn't on play. Like, so you're saying that if PlayStation didn't sign this deal, they would have taken it. I don't think that would have happened either.
Yeah, I'm not working with the same assumption.
I don't know. I'm not saying
I don't think it was a surefire thing
that
Call of Duty would stay on. Yeah, I don't know. Like, it would have to be a toss up, but for Xbox, like, is it?
What I'm saying is, let me rephrase.
Like we've talked about this so many times.
Microsoft had more to gain from PlayStation signing this at that moment. Like, in that moment, like, it was more about Microsoft getting PlayStation's public approval than PlayStation signing that on for 10 years. Is what I'm saying.
Yes.
And it just happened quickly. Like, it just happened out of the blue and really quickly with not a lot of fanfare. I don't know. I'm not saying it like James is thinking I'm saying it as if like PlayStation have the leg up. Like, I'm not saying
I literally have not said a single word while you've been speaking.
No. Look at the wall. What you've done.
Go watch this on YouTube and you be the judge.
It's just fascinating. I don't know.
So fascinating.
Oh, yeah, I think PlayStation saw the writing on the wall and realized they weren't going to be able to prevent this acquisition going through, and so they took Xbox up on the offer to keep Call of Duty on the platform.
Like, butt in and be like, what the like? This big deal was made about how Microsoft did that deal with Sony, and Sony was like, no, and then all of a sudden it's like happened anyway. So it's just like much ado about nothing, really, in my eyes. Like,
well, I think it's PlayStation going back and we're like, sorry, Mr. Xbox, like, you win. Would you please spare us that Call of Duty deal that you offered earlier? And really Xbox are like, you know what? We're going to take the high road and we'll give you Call of Duty, but only for 10 years, PlayStation, remember? And then it's going to be exclusive to Game Pass and we're going to get everyone on our platform then.
I think we've already...
I reckon that's what's happening, to be honest.
But like, I don't know. I guess, like, let's just...
You just don't care at this point.
I should care. I think I should care on the, like, corporate consolidation side of things. But obviously, I think, like, at least let's just say there is a 10-year COD deal. At least then they give, say, as an example, like, we know games take a long time to make now. They give one of their studios a chance to kind of make some kind of competitor in the off chance that, say, COD doesn't stay on PlayStation. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think Ascendant Studios is working on a shooter, and I think that's got a lot of COD people behind it, as an example. Yeah, I don't know.
Can I that's
the only thing I've thought of
like,
that we haven't talked about 85
What is
times
happening with COD this year? Like, that's something nobody's talking about. It's July 19th, and we haven't heard about COD
3
at all. Well, is it? I don't know.
Well, that's what came up.
That's what all the rumors have been.
Finger on the pulse, Shannon.
Yeah, it's fallen off. Unfortunately, I fear.
For someone that pretends not to care about Call of Duty is all over it.
No, apparently, the rumor was that
the vibe
they
check
wanted to.
Is...
Yeah, I've done a vibe check and I have a report. Happy to report.
I'm guessing, Kira, that this is like a Real Housewives reference or something. I'm not following.
Just being a dickhead. No, apparently they wanted to do some kind of big paid expansion from MW2, and that's become its own thing now. So it's just going to be MW3 this year. That was the last I heard.
Well, they better get chopping on that announce.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like do you remember Cold War? They announced
progress
that like the week before.
The week before. Dropped it in stores unannounced.
Yeah.
It's definitely usually this time of year we get
it's normally June.
I thought it was typically like a week or so ahead of.
Yeah,
the
it's
E3
normally
of
like
the
back
E3
in the
time
day,
reveal.
Xbox
Yeah.
used to open with the campaign
Yeah.
footage. Remember in June?
We
But
might
that's
see
Yeah.
not
those golden
anymore.
days return.
The days. The days.
You're Very right.
All right. Well, I think we've spoken
Yeah.
about that
What is
sufficiently.
what is
I
the
never
next
speak
step?
about it
We're gonna
questions,
it's gonna
but-
be wrapped up this week. We're thinking maybe now, right?
Yeah.
No, apparently it's not. There's a
They've got like 2 more months.
No, there's still. I'm sure there's
Okay.
still.
Apparently,
process.
yesterday was the deadline or something for it to
Yeah.
close. So that hasn't happened.
They
So
extended
now
it
there's
till, like,
two
September
options,
or
which is
something.
like they both agree to stay in talks, or they announce an extension.
Do
They haven't announced an
we-
extension?
Rapid fire
Do we-
question, if you will. Like, do we
Okay.
think
Can't
this
just
year's
create a rapid fire.
I can
That's
do
against the
what I want.
rules.
This year's
I love how Shannon suddenly, like midway through the episode, or
Okay.
like, starting to get a little
Yeah,
long, 45 minutes, he's like, "I'm taking over."
could
The
this
show is
year's
mine.
COD feasibly drop on Game Pass? Do we think? Like, is that something that could happen?
I don't know. I don't know if they can until it's closed, right?
But will it have closed by then?
But then that Diablo on Game Pass leaked like last week
No,
in
they-
Brazil or something. Like
They don't
Brazil
have
is
to,
really on
they
the
don't have to
rolls.
own the studio for them to put it on Game Pass though. Like
True.
it could happen.
Yeah, 100. That's true.
Yeah, they can still sign.
Microsoft can
separate
make anything
deals
happen
and
with their
agree.
money.
Yeah. I did want to say to that point,
They
though,
didn't
like
make
we
Xbox
focus on Call of Duty for a large part of this conversation. It's obviously been a focal point of the proceedings so far. But like, there's so much more Activision and Blizzard games that are kind of overlooked in all of this. Like you mentioned Diablo, like that's a major title that could be going Xbox's way in future. What happens to Overwatch? Like there's
Spyro.
Crash Team Rumble
fair
is waiting
few
for its day
games
in the
within
sun.
Crash Team, yeah. There's a few things, Spyro exactly,
Hey,
within
if
the Activision
anything-
Blizzard kind of umbrella that deserve some attention,
anything
I
can
reckon. What's going to happen to
save
Spyro?
Crash Team Rumble, it's Game Pass, in my humble opinion. Like-
True.
I forgot that
Yeah.
came out.
Yeah,
nuts.
me too. I want to get back
Yeah,
to
Ewan.
it as
I thought
well.
you would have
Give
maxed
it
the
more of
Battle
a
Pass
go.
already or something. And made TikToks about it. That's what all you young people do.
I'm too busy playing BattleBit. All right. To go to a real rapid fire question now, not Shannon's random rapid fire question, which maybe is another segment we could introduce. I don't know. The actual rapid fire question: Pokemon Sleep is out now in Australia. A, have you given it a go? And B, will you give it a go? If your answer is no to the first question, Shannon, surely
I
you've
have downloaded it. I
downloaded it.
was telling Kieran that I have enough tracking my sleep at this point that it doesn't help. None of them help. I will try it at some point for a night or two, but you have to have your
I don't
phone
think it's
like
meant to,
right
I
at
don't
you,
think it's
right?
meant to help you sleep.
You're
like,
meant
I
to
don't know, it's
learn
the-
and then try and improve it, I guess.
Gamifies your sleep a little bit.
Learn
Yeah.
what?
Are you going to give it a go then, James?
Yeah, why not? Give anything
Tonight,
a try.
why don't
once.
we all do
Okay.
it?
2 for
I don't
2?
have my go. No, because don't you have to
Two
have
for
the
two?
go plus
No.
minus?
phone.
No.
No, you can just sit
Oh
the
no, I
phone
don't want
on
to do
the edge
that
of your
because that
bed, I
messes
think.
my alarm. I don't. I'll get a go plus. And
Wow. Okay. Really
yeah, I
committing
need
to
a
it.
dedicated device. It'll just tell me I snore. Isn't that what it records noise? Is that true?
Yeah.
Did I hallucinate, or are they doing some toothbrushing game as well?
I think so. It was that one that I
Yeah.
tweeted
Is that-
about,
is that
and then
a
they
thing?
announced Pokemon Snap like 5 seconds later.
Are they going to do like Pokemon toothbrush for that? Like, is it going to be a Bluetooth peripheral?
I'd like
to
to
your-
see
about?
it.
I don't
There
know.
was like, I think it's already dropped. Maybe.
I'm going to have to look this up.
Yeah, where dropped
I'm
where?
going to have to look this up. I could be in a fever dream. Kieran, Pokemon Sleep,
You've
yeah or
done
nay?
it.
Yes, I have played it. Sorry,
You've given it a go.
Acting like the overseas correspondent that I feel like because I'm on such a massive delay right now.
Carrier pigeon
Um,
is how you're getting these messages.
No, yeah, I have checked it out. I've done my first sleep with Snorlax. It's like sleep with Snorlax. I'm like, okay. And all I got
I'm in.
was
Sounds like a good night.
all I got was that the information that I have so far is that I fell asleep in 7 minutes, and I have 8 recordings of my cats suplexing each other off the bed.
7 minutes is impressive. I feel like that's good.
Yeah.
I've never heard
I
someone
know.
say
It takes
that
me
to me
7
before, but
hours.
thank
I
you.
reckon I
sleep.
could do 7
Yeah.
minutes these days. Is it a race
Wow.
to get fall? Is that
Jealous.
the idea? You want to fall asleep the quickest?
I
I
think
think
so.
that's probably a function.
Couldn't you just
I
like hold
guess.
your breath and then
That's
Choke
not how you
yourself
fall
out.
asleep.
Yeah, I know.
Pokemon sleeps like,
Yeah.
and then the app's like, and then he slept for 50 years.
I feel
Yeah, like,
I feel like that was the moment where James forgot how to be a human being. He was like, "Shit, throw it to
Yeah.
me."
I more meant like to game the system. Like you can just be really quiet and it thinks you're asleep. But
Oh,
just
okay.
mean, like,
Stand really
hold your breath
still.
until you pass
Don't-
out.
Yeah, definitely how I construed it. We really
Yeah.
must move on and get to what the Wiki, the Press Start podcast game show, with the previous week's winner is part of a Wikipedia page for an unknown game, and we, the contestants, must guess the game. A point is awarded for each correct guess, with the round ending after a person scores 2 points. Currently in the lead, we have Brody on 20 points, James in second place on 18, myself in third with 15 points. Kieran and Shannon, you were both tied in fourth with 14 points, just one behind myself. And Harry's on 1 point, James W. nil point. But James, if I'm not mistaken, you were the winner last episode, which means that you were in the hosting chair today. So when you're ready, take it away.
Let's go. So let's go. Okay. Yeah, I
Focused.
hope these do well, but we'll see.
Kieran should get 28 points if he manages
yeah.
to come through.
You're right, I was
this
gonna
as a
say.
winner.
In case it wasn't obvious, it wasn't apparently immediate. Oh, it wasn't immediately apparent to me either. Kieran, you seem to be suffering from a bit of a delay with your
He'll be
internet
right.
connection. Is that right? Is that what's going on?
Yeah.
That nod.
It's
seemed
like a
pretty quick. I
reasonable
reckon we're
handicap,
okay.
I think, for these games, but we'll see.
Okay, so-
Yeah, literally. Anyway, let's go. The game is an action-adventure game that uses predetermined camera angles, my favorite. The developer changed the series' focus from survival horror by creating a more action-packed arcade-style experience that featured more open areas, greater varieties of weapons and enemies, and less emphasis on puzzles. As players kill enemies in succession, countering attacks and avoiding damage in areas, they can earn extinction points, a form of in-game currency that tally up as the player moves between locations. Throughout the game, the player can locate and use computer stations that act as a save point where players can save and load games.
Kieran.
Ewan.
Ewan was first. Sorry.
Kieran might have been.
No, he
first. We'll never
wasn't.
know.
Yeah, he might have been.
You can go for it.
I'm not sure I'm going to get this right anyway, Kieran. I'm going to guess Dino Crisis 2.
Holy fucking shit.
I know. That's...
Did I get it?
You did.
Yeah, James, I'm
so
just
mad.
like inserting myself in your head. That's the only way I got
That's,
there.
yeah, that's
knew it was
crazy.
Dino Crisis
Anyway,
2.
yeah.
I know you were thinking Dino Crisis, Exoprimal. I was like Extinction Points.
But let's see
Something
how far
here.
in my head you are. Anyway. Okay, well, Ewan's on one, a very unexpected one, but one nonetheless. So let's move on. The developer described this game as the franchise's pivotal point, as it incorporates elements from sandbox games and focuses on emergent gameplay. According to the game director, the team focused on the game's replayability and that each playthrough will lead to unique moments for players. With the game's procedural generation, the team wanted to avoid linearity and predictability and offer a challenging experience for players. The game was announced in December 2022 and was initially set to be released in March 2023. The team postponed the game's release to May 2023 as the team, quote, had a tough winter with a slew of illnesses. Close quote. It was further delayed by 2 weeks due to unforeseen certification issues. The game was released for Windows, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S on June 6th, 2023. It's coming. Get ready. The game is a survival horror video game developed and published by Frictional Games.
Shannon.
It is the... Shannon.
Why am I blanking on this? I feel like I should
I don't
know.
know.
What this is.
I don't know
Kieran's
what
got
it's
it.
called.
No pressure.
It's Amnesia. The bunker.
Oh!
It is Amnesia, the
that's-
bunker.
thank you.
Well
I was
done.
Oh,
I was nervous. It was another game.
Well done.
Thanks a lot.
I was
How is that?
definitely in a
Is that
different
good?
wavelengths.
I don't know. I go to play it, and somebody interrupts me every time. So I've played the first 10 minutes 5 times, but I couldn't tell you anything else.
That sounded like a targeted attack.
Yeah,
on
I hope
someone
they're
on this
listening.
call.
They know who they are. No. When they said they wanted to focus replayability, I don't think that's what they meant. Okay. Let's go. So Shannon, I love the delayed laugh from Kieran. I was like, he didn't find it funny, but then I was like, wait, nope, he did.
Poor Kieran.
Okay, this might be a tiebreaker, I reckon. So Shannon won, Ewan won,
Ooh.
Kieran none. I feel
I'm gonna
bad
do
because
it.
Kieran probably is. Anyway,
I'm just gonna say my name
Yeah.
like eventually. I'm just
Yeah,
gonna
you
start.
have to.
I'm just gonna say
I
my
have
name at the
faith.
beginning,
yeah,
and just wait for you to start explaining it.
and
for
then
a few
wait
seconds.
for the sentence to finish.
Say my name.
The
say
game
my
has
name.
been confirmed to feature a story mode, online multiplayer, and offline gameplay. Additionally, the air combat combo system featured in previous games has returned and is being refined for this game.
Kieran.
The game will introduce a feature. Yes, Kieran.
Oh shit! I was about to go.
Oh shit. No, I just thought of another one that it could be. Is it Mortal Kombat 12? 1? Shit.
It is Mortal Kombat 1, which is really annoying because now I have to get a fucking tiebreaker.
I was gonna say Mortal Kombat
Yeah,
1 too.
but
I
that's
think
getting
I
revealed
thought
this
you said
week.
flight instead of fight, but I'm guessing.
No, don't
think he
try
said
and turn
air.
this around.
Don't
You
try.
lost. So we'll go to a.
I love how James
I
is
know,
never
no
prepared for a
faith.
Normally
tiebreaker.
it's
Like, he
like-
just hopes it doesn't happen. And he had such nerves before going into that final game as well. He was like, "Oh god, it's going to tiebreaker."
How?
I surprised him getting the first game.
Yeah,
I
you
think.
did. Like really, genuinely. I was like, but I don't stop talking about this game, so surely they'll know. And someone did. Someone listened.
Especially with regard to Exoprimal, I feel like we did talk about it a lot. I hope Exoprimal is the dinosaur game that Brody's always wanted. I know he's been hanging out
No, he
for
got
for a
Death Grounds.
while. Did Death Grounds come out?
Yeah. Fuck.
Yeah, okay.
Why don't we just all?
This definitely feels like we've entered the phase of the show where, like it is after we finish recording. It's just
Everyone
casual
should play
banter.
Dave the
These
Diver.
days.
That's my input. We didn't speak about it, but
Oh yeah, let's have a chat about Dave the Diver.
Well, yeah, whilst James gets himself organized, you want to tell us about Dave
It's
the
similar
Diver?
to Dredge, but it's like you are diving, catching fish, escaping sharks, and then it turns into like Overcooked when you come back up and serve your meals at a restaurant. It's
Okay, that's enough. I'm
incredible.
ready.
And go. Can it be Dave the Diver?
It's another one I've seen doing
Okay,
around.
everyone has a chance with this one, I reckon.
No,
okay?
I don't.
It's good.
All right, cool.
Look,
Dynamic.
the game is a survival horror third-person shooter. Although
Okay.
the player controls a protagonist throughout most of the game, certain sections require the player to control a supporting protagonist for shorter periods. The player must explore the environment to open doors, climb up ladders, and pick up items.
Ewan. Stab in the dark.
It's
Resident Evil
not
4.
Resident Evil 4. As the player progresses through the game, a variety of computer-controlled monsters will try to hinder the player's progress. Before I keep going, is Ewan out?
Until the end of the
Ewan,
paragraph.
sorry
Oh.
for you. So Ewan's knocked out.
Ah!
The player can
No!
acquire and use multiple weapons. Some weapons can be customized with additional parts to improve their performance. A creature called Nemesis is the game's
Shannon.
primary and...
Oh. Resident Evil 3.
It is Resident Evil 3, Shannon.
Thank
I can't
you.
believe
There was a
that
lot of
wasn't
pressure with
obvious
that.
to you. I can't believe you won. Wow, who would have thought?
Thank you. I feel like you
Yeah,
willed that
that's
on
really
for me
annoying.
with your cursing me before the show.
I just
If I'm
kind of
being honest, 3 is
jumped
Ewan's favourite, and I
It
feel like
is-
he
I
needed
was
a
gonna
what the
say
wiki
4.
bomb thrown at him for
He
it's been a
did.
while.
A bit of a dry spell, if you will.
And Kieran, I feel like, has lost cause because of his internet, which is not his fault, but it's just how it is. And
I feel like I've been having a great season of What the Wiki. I'm never really like in contention for the no, that's a bit of a lie actually. Shannon and I are now tied on 16 points in third place. So
Well, who's
Shannon's done
second?
very well as of late. Props to you, Shannon. You're second,
first?
James, on 18. So Shannon and I are just 2 behind, and Brody's
Where's
first
Kieran?
on 20. So there's 2 points separating each
In
of
my
the
mind,
podium at the moment. Kieran just
Kieran's
behind
first.
on
And I
14
get to
points,
host
just
next
2
week,
behind.
so
And
everyone's
fourth,
a
so-
winner, really.
well, everyone gets a point if that's the case.
True. Shannon hosting is always entertaining. With that, though, let's bring an end to what was this week's episode of the Press Start podcast. Subscribe to us on Listener or the podcast service of your choice. Follow us at press.au and visit the site at pressstart.com.au. As I mentioned throughout the show as well, you can find us on YouTube now as well. There's a video version there. We've been joined today by Shannon.
Shannon Grixty on Twitter, Threads, everything. Go for it.
Threads. It's a thing now. I don't know if it was. Oh, no, it might have been when we last spoke. Also joining us today was James.
Yeah. What am I? I'm on Twitter at Jams ATJMZ. I guess I'm on Threads at Jams PK. If you want, rebrand coming soon. Watch out. I've got a monogram and everything. Yeah.
And also joining us today, it was Kieran.
HASH_BRAUN on the Twitter.
And I've been your host, Ewan Roxburgh. You can follow me on Twitter and Threads at Ewan_Roxburgh. Thanks again for tuning in, and until next time,
Bye.
happy gaming.
Bye.
Bye.